Greetings from light. Let us speak today of life and death. This is a time for everyone to live, but before that, to die. The coming months, and even more significantly, the coming year, will bring new life, new hopes, new dreams, new joys. But in order to welcome those, you must first be prepared to die. In spite of so much work, in spite of so much healing, in spite of so much resolution, there is still so much more that needs to be killed. If you have to destroy not someone else's dreams, break not someone else's heart, but destroy that which is in you, which compels you, urges you, provokes you to cause destruction and harm and hurt and pain in someone else's life. Break your own heart that lies covered in this deep shell of conditioned pain, a pain that makes you lash out to others, a pain that makes you judge, a pain that makes you blind to the very purpose of your life, blind to the purpose of the events in your life. And so we shall start with death. But let us first begin to talk of death in its most physical form, the one that you recognize, the one that you term as death. And often have we been asked, why? Why must the old suffer and linger? Why must some go suddenly, unprepared? Where is the justice in either of these? So let us answer these questions. The greatest fear of every living human being, however prepared they may feel they are about death, The greatest fear is death. The unknown. And those that suffer and those that linger have a very, very deep fear of death. And instead of healing their bodies, which respond very little to your healing, heal their minds, heal their feelings, heal their fears. They are scared to die. They do not know what death is. Or they may have heard about it, they may have read books about it, but they do not know. From deep within their very beings, they do not know. And it is this unknown that strikes fear. Their pain, their physical suffering is in fact a universal blessing that has been bestowed upon them. When they suffer, when they exhaust themselves with the pain then becomes greater than their fear of the unknown. And gently and gradually but surely, they are ready and willing to slip away into the light. But you see the suffering and you see their pain, and you see how they struggle to endure that pain. But you do not understand that pain. Now you shall understand. The discomfort of life brings them eagerly, happily into the arms of death. And why do we call this a blessing? Those that pass into the light with resistance, where their souls have to almost drag their ego beings, which are still prevalent at the time of death, into the light. This resistance places tremendous hurdles in their path, and their journey into a higher light realm becomes difficult, labored, to prevent that. The suffering that is borne by the physical body is a blessing. Because even though you see it as suffering, and even though you pray that they be released from the suffering, we tell you this suffering is better than the resistance that the soul faces. But what about those who go unprepared, who go suddenly, who have no time to prepare? What about them? Their fear of death is so strong that even if they were to suffer, that fear of death would take an extremely long and labored time to allow that person to go joyfully into the light. For those, a sudden death, though a shock, is better than a prolonged period when their ego beings are aware that they shall in fact meet death. And then there are those who go unprepared in your eyes, but who know from the very core of their existence that their time has come. And this awareness may not be spoken of to anyone. In fact, this awareness may not be spoken of by the core to the ego being. But the core is aware of the time, aware of the moment, and aware of the purpose for this moment. And the core begins to soften the fear. And it might be through certain experiences that the person might have. It might be even through certain memories, soul memories lying deep within the cellular structure that come awake at certain times. Your masters, your angels, and your guides shall do everything in their power to ensure that your moment of passing into the light is joyful. But their energies can work only to that extent where you allow them to. Start working upon your own fears of passing into the light, your fears of losing your loved ones, you know that death is passing into the light. You know it intellectually. We ask you now to know it, to assimilate it into your very being. Visualize your own death. Visualize no body. Visualize being separated from your loved ones in physical attachment. You shall find that you will respond to this with fear and anxiety. Continue to do this till there is no physical attachment left. No physical attachment to your children, to your parents, to your siblings, to your friends. No physical attachments to your possessions. And no physical attachments to your body. And why are we telling you this? The coming months and the next 2 years shall witness many who shall pass into the light. And it could be as a sudden moment, or it could be after suffering. Whichever method is easier upon your soul. We do not say that it is going to be you or you or you. We shall never say that, even if you shall ask us. But it could be you. It could be a loved one. It could be a friend. And we ask you now to completely transform the existing belief system on earth pertaining to death. And you know that it starts with only one person, and that is you. And when you find yourself healing that fear of death, then all else that you find so trying in your life shall become insignificant. When you have overcome the physical attachment, the physical need for this body, nothing else matters. No words can hurt you. No actions can harm you. And no one can make you feel afraid and alone. Yes, a large number who chose to be born in this time of shift, and we do not only refer to these few years, we refer to the last 75 years. The shift started then. Shifts cannot take place overnight. And so all of you who chose to be here in this time of shift, to do your part, whether you know what your part is or you do not intellectually know what your part is so irrelevant, but you pay so much needless attention to what is my part. Beloveds, your part is to aid in the shift. And sometimes that means taking on the conflicts of the shift unto yourself, so that others who have other roles to play are left free of the conflict of the shift. So when you complain of your troubles and your struggles, and when you wish to be freed of them, Are you 100% certain that these conflicts and troubles are indeed not the part you have chosen to play? But every single person living on earth today, in this moment as we speak to you, has chosen to facilitate the shift. Some are very clear by the bright light that they exude, and some fool you because they disguise themselves in what you see as the darkness of evil. What if we were to tell you? Would you believe us? Would you truly believe us if we were to tell you that there is not a single living person on this earth today, in this minute as we speak to you, who is not a high evolved energy that has chosen to facilitate this shift? Would you then look at those who pretend to be the harbingers of evil? Would you then look at them and recognize their light? Will you believe us? Your answer will come very soon when you open the newspaper tomorrow morning. Who will you judge? Whose light will you recognize through that print? And who will you continue to believe is evil personified? And so we ask you again, will you truly believe when we tell you that there is not one single living person on this earth, in this minute as we speak, who is not a higher energy of light that has been born, that has chosen to be born only to facilitate the shift? What started 75 years ago shall end in the next 3. And that is why this time shall see many taking their exits, because the paths they had chosen to play are over, shall be over. And it shall not matter whether the age is 3 years or 30 or 90. The part is over. And so today is an important day for you. Assume, not with fear, not with trepidation, not with anxiety. And certainly do not believe that we are making any prophetic statements. We are only asking you to assume. Assume that it is you that shall pass into the light, either before or soon after the 3 years of the shift being over. And from this minute forth, live your life so that you leave behind a rich legacy of pure energy. No one needs your jewels or your money or your assets. You shall soon find that these are worthless. We shall speak no more of that. But you shall soon find that these are worthless. Its time is done. Money has come to the end of its life. Its time is done. So do not spend your life accumulating that which you believe is going to enrich your children, your family, your loved ones. It shall be worthless. But if you can enrich yourself with energy that is pure, you shall leave behind a legacy that shall help them to step into your shoes, into that energy space that you have created and which you shall leave behind, and which shall empower and enrich their lives forever. For that legacy can never be left to one. That legacy you leave behind to all. And once again, we ask if you shall believe if we tell you that whatever energy you leave behind at death comes knocking at the door of every single individual you have met, however briefly, throughout your life, and enters their home and their spirits. Because as soon as you leave the physical body, that energy which you have exchanged with them in that moment of meeting, however long or short that meeting might have been, that energy exchange is completed at the time of your death. And so when you depart not only with your energy, you depart with your energy plus the energy of every single living being that you have encountered and experienced and met ever since you were conceived. And you share your departing energy with all of them as well. So when you leave behind a legacy of pure energy, you do not enrich the life of one. You enrich the life of millions. Every single stranger that you met on the road and asked for a direction, every single staff member, every single teacher every single friend, acquaintance, and every single enemy. And now we ask you again, assume you have only 3 years. What energy are you leaving behind? And you might believe that you love her, but you dislike her. You shall not leave the energy of love behind only for the one you love. That energy of dislike, disapproval, hate, envy, rage shall mix with your energy of love that you leave behind. And it is that mix that all shall inherit, including your loved ones. If you were to die today, right now, we ask you, what legacy would you leave behind? Is this what you wish to leave behind? And so when we talk of life, we actually talk of a life that prepares itself for the joyous moment of death. For that death is far more real than this life. That death opens the doors to the reality of that which you are. And this life, which you know is illusion, is only your preparation till you pass into light again. So if you visualize your own death, if you visualize the death of your loved ones, can you feel joy in your heart? Can you feel the elation of spring and new beginnings and new blooms? Or does it in fact seem like a barren wasteland? Your answer shall tell you how much work you have left to do. If you assume that you are to die in 3 years, and you shall ask, and what if we don't? If you don't, then you shall have already died in 3 years. And after 3 years, you shall begin to live. Not as an illusion, but you shall live in the reality of light. So as we depart, we wish you all a splendid, joyous, magnificent passing into the light. We wish that for you. We wish that for all your loved ones. We wish that for earth itself. And every person that you see ailing and suffering, now be their angel. Help them to eliminate fear of death, and their suffering shall end, and they shall embrace death. For they shall know as they close their eyes, and as the heart stops to beat, that they are in the fullest embrace of divine light. Wishing you beautiful new beginnings. And here we are not talking about more money and happy relationships, for truly that is so insignificant. We are referring to a new beginning of that phase of your life where you embrace the passing into light. Blessings upon you all. साई का प्रणाम। बस 2 शब्द कहने आया। मौत में जीवन है, जीवन में मौत कभी नहीं हो सकता। बस वही कहने आया। साई का प्रणाम।